Hey everybody! Today I'll be talking about Treasure Adventure World. It's a game that came out on Steam about 6 months ago, or maybe sooner than that. Maybe it was like April, I don't know. It's a remake of a game that came out probably like 10 years ago. It's one of my favorite indie games. Rather, the original was one of my favorite indie games, so I got really excited to see it being remade with new graphics, and it plays exactly the same, basically. It's like I said, it's a total remake. Made by one guy. The original was made by one guy. I'm assuming this is made by a couple more people because there's a lot of different art assets and music and stuff like that. Maybe it was contractors or something. I have no idea. In my opinion, it's not as well known just because of its name. Like, the name is Treasure Adventure World, which is it's a terrible name. It's not selling very well on Steam, which sucks because it's like a really great game. So let's dive in. Let's talk about what made it so great back in the day. Let's talk about why it's so great now. And let's talk about what we can pull from it for my next game. First of all, let's talk about the gameplay related stuff. Let's talk about art and music and all that. The art is totally serviceable. I actually didn't like it very much when I first saw the trailers and stuff, but it's grown on me a lot. I think that the art is very good, especially when you watch the animation when you start the game. There's like a minute long video. And it's really great animation, and the music and sounds and stuff all complement it really well, and I think the sounds in this game all work really well with the cartoony style art. And the actual in-game quality of it is also just like fantastic. I think it's animated very well. I think all the characters work really well, the art and all that. So I won't talk too much more about that, but it works really well. The music is totally passable, serviceable, some catchy tunes, but nothing I would go and listen to afterwards, but they did a great job. And like I said, the sounds all work very well with it. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, just really quick, a note about technical issues. I have experienced some technical bugs and stuff like that that made me required a restart of the game, as well as a couple of weird glitches that got me killed and stuff like that, which weren't the end of the world, but kind of sucked. Which is interesting because I remember the original not having any major issues. I could be wrong because, like I said, it was so long ago. But yeah, this version definitely needs a little more polish. That being said, I think it's still absolutely worth a buy if you've never played the original. Even if you have played the original and it's been a while, I suggest buying it. Not just to support the developer, but because it's a really great game. And even with the 3 or 4 times I've had to restart my game because of game-breaking bugs in about 7 hours, this game has been phenomenal. Okay, so on to the gameplay. So let's talk about the combat and the platforming a little bit. You've got your standard kind of running and jumping. There's a lot of inertia with the jumping and running. Versus something like Hollow Knight, where the jump was very controlled. You can control your jump height, which is nice. When you run and stop, you kind of slide forward a little bit because of the inertia. If you let go of the thumbstick really fast while you're running, I can do it better this way. You let out a little slide, which is nice. The jumping kind of sucks, I'm going to be honest, mostly because of the height of some platforms. Like, I don't have a great example. If I go into here, let's see, if I jump up here, no, that doesn't do it. Okay, so I don't have a great example, but essentially there's a bunch of platforms in the game that you can only reach if you just hold like the button all the way, which really sucks, because oftentimes this is a slow arc, which means that you have to hold the button down for quite a while to get to the top of your jump, versus other games where you reach it much more quickly. So reaching that top of the platform is often a little bit frustrating, and eventually you do get used to it, but it's still there are many times in the game where you end up not reaching a platform just because you didn't hold the button long enough. Other than that, the jumping is totally serviceable. Like, it's fine. The combat is ass. You have one attack, It looks like that. It sounds the same. It sounds like Wolverine swinging his claws. You also unlock a ranged attack. Obviously, this is the upgraded version, which has longer range. And it doesn't feel great. None of the combat in this game feels great. It feels serviceable, as in, like, it's not offensive, and enemies die like they would. Hitboxes are totally fine. But the game is not really about the combat. There's only been 3 bosses so far, and they're all you have to burn the rope style bosses, where they don't have health bars or anything like that. They're all just kind of like, figure out how to kill them and do it 4 times and you win. Yeah, so what actually makes the game good if the platforming and the combat is not so great? Well, let's talk about what the game is, because that's what I should have done from the starting. Treasure Adventure Game, or World, is a Metroidvania mixed with Wind Waker, mixed with a adventure game. And if you've ever played Wind Waker, then you would know that you can sail around between islands. So this game is very much what is known to a lot of people that have played it, a 2D Wind Waker. Even the boat looks very similar. You get a cannon that can shoot stuff. You get a parrot. I think there's a parrot or a bird of some kind in Wind Waker. I haven't played it in a while. I can't remember. Oh, no. It was the boat that talked. That's right. But very similar in that regard. Because it's in 2D, it has a whole bunch of its own design differences and issues that come along with it. So the one of the coolest things about this game, again, is that you start playing it and you're not expecting very much. Like, it's kind of like, you're like, oh, the art's okay, and I'm jumping around and it feels fine, I guess, and I'm swinging at big giant ants and spiders and stuff like that, and they're dying. I don't get what the hype is. And then you unlock the boat pretty early on, and you start sailing around, and you open up your map, and you're like, oh, holy crap. This game is huge. I'm going to have to explore all these islands. And you get to this one other island that's right next to yours, and it's really big, and there's a ton of stuff you can do there. And then you're like, oh, okay, I haven't finished this island. I'm going to go on to the next one. So it's very much in the style of a Metroidvania, where you can't visit all the islands right away because you lack upgrades. But you can actually get to the entire world pretty quickly. The goal of the game is to unlock these 12 treasures, which don't actually do anything, by the way. I'm not really spoiling anything. These are just treasures. They don't have any upgrade capabilities or anything. You often get upgrades next to the treasures, but yeah. So you got to get all 12 treasures, and I won't go into the story or anything because it's not that interesting. It's okay. It's serviceable. So your goal is to find these 12 treasures, and doing so requires all kinds of different things. It requires talking to people. Some require different items in the Metroidvania style to get. Some are buried underground, and you have to use a shovel to dig in the right spot via environmental puzzle, or you need to collect these nav pearl things, which mark things on your map as to clues to where treasure is. So it's a treasure hunting game, and it's very much mixed with an adventure game, kind of like La Mulana, but way more forgiving and way easier than La Mulana. Environmental Station Alpha at the very end of the game, post-game, had very similar challenges where you had this endgame content that required you to like jot down notes and stuff like that. This will never require you to jot down notes or decipher any languages or anything like that, but it definitely has a lot of that similar feel where you're like, how do I get this? I don't know where to dig. I don't know. You can like crawl into secret tunnels and stuff like that, which is really neat. Like I said, though, it's a much more casual version, so it oftentimes is easy. So that's what I want to take from this game, is those puzzle elements or those adventure elements. And I want to make it all about that because, like I said, I want to make our next game have excellent combat. But to take at least some of these adventure elements and stick them in would be really fantastic. One major issue with the 2D version of the sailing is that the world has to be traversed linearly, as in you can only go left or right. And if you want to reach that island on the other side of the world, by the way, the world wraps around. If you want to reach the other side of the world, you have to go through every single one of the islands. And unfortunately, you don't unlock fast travel until about 5-6 hours in. Maybe I'm overestimating. Maybe it's less than that. And when you do unlock the fast travel item, there's minor spoilers here, you get this bottle, which can be used to bottle up things like water, fire, wind, and stuff like that, and they can be tossed at enemies, like flame enemies, to put them out, or put water in bottles and then heat them up to shoot out steam to turn on windmills and stuff like that. You get this bottle, and your only hint at the fact that it's used for fast travel is this space sailor guy who tells you that you need a magical bottle to bottle up these vortexes. And there's a chance that you could not talk to him, or you could miss out on him, or whatever. Or it just might not click, because, like, what is that fast travel, right? You're using a bottle to bottle up a vortex. And I'll show you what it looks like, what I mean by it being confusing. And this is me nitpicking a little bit. And it really would not be an issue at all if the sailing was like... If it were 3D, it would be okay, but because it's 2D and it takes so long to go back and forth, fast travel is basically necessary. Yeah, like I said, the combat is very servable. So this is the fast travel point. So I have to take out my bottle, I walk up to it, and it goes inside of it, and then you shoot it out, and you jump into it. Yeah, it's a little bit obtuse. The great thing is, this fast travel screen is really cool. It's kind of like the God of War one, where you can walk around and jump into any of the portals, which take you to places, which I really like. You don't see that very often, or ever, really. Minor spoilers, since that's a little bit later. Yeah. Not many bosses, like I said. Not much else to talk about. I highly recommend that everyone go and play this game, because I think it's really, really great. The developer's been struggling and hasn't sold it. Like, they spent 6 years working on this game, and it really is a fantastic game, but no one's buying it. Again, I think it's mostly because of the name. The art style probably doesn't help either, but I do think it's more of the name than the art style. I could be wrong. It's a huge, huge game. I think at bare minimum, it's 10 hours if you know where everything is and rush through it. If you don't rush through it, like I am, I think I'm at like 6 or 7 hours, and I have 5 out of 12 of the treasures you need. And there's tons and tons of collectibles and stuff to find that increases all kinds of, like, your stats. Your stats don't really matter very much, but it increases your stats. Tons of little secrets, little secret rooms, secret items, hats you can get which do different things. So it's a very, very, very big game. Really great value. Hopefully people that watch this video will go and try this game out on Steam. It's like $15, and I think it was on sale recently for 10. So buy this game. It's very good. Yeah, that's about it. Until next time.